Whenever you ask for change, you've got to be prepared for disruption. If you plant an oak tree in the earth, it's going to disrupt the soil. If you plant a peach tree in the soil, it's going to disrupt the ground. There's no way you can have growth without disruption. But God said to me, when you say change, I send disruption, but don't let the disruption become a distraction. Somebody shout, it's not over. Oh, I feel something stirring in this room right now. There's a shaking, a shifting, a breaking loose of every chain that has tried to bind you. You've walked through storms. You felt the sting of betrayal, the weight of failure, and the ache of loss. But I came here to tell somebody God is undoing the damage. We are living in a world that wounds us. The disappointments of life, the mistakes we've made, and the things done to us leave scars. Some of you are carrying damage you've never even spoken about, wounds in your heart, fractures in your family, losses in your spirit. But hear me, God sees you. He knows where it hurts, and He has not forgotten you. God specializes in taking what the enemy meant for evil and turning it for good. He is the God who speaks to dry bones and commands them to live. He is the God who can take the ruins of your life and build something greater than you ever imagined. But somebody say, restore me, Lord. Listen to me, the pain didn't happen without purpose. The tears you cried, the nights you stayed awake, the battles you fought, none of it is wasted. God allowed it not to destroy you, but to develop you. He is pruning you, refining you, and positioning you for something far greater. If He let it happen, He will redeem it. Restoration is a process. Oh, I know we want it overnight. But God's ways are higher than ours. Trust Him when it feels slow. Trust Him when it feels messy. God is working behind the scenes. He's undoing the knots, untangling the web, and preparing a masterpiece. Don't rush the process, lean into it. God isn't just undoing the damage to put you back where you were. No, He's taking you higher. The Word says He gives beauty for ashes, joy for mourning, and praise for the spirit of heaviness. God doesn't restore you to the level you were at. He elevates you to the level He's called you to. Somebody declare, I'm coming back better. And when God finishes what He's doing in your life, don't keep it to yourself. Your story has power. Your testimony will break chains for others. Your restoration will remind somebody else that God can do it for them too. Somebody shout, I've got a testimony. I don't know what damage you've walked in here with, emotional, physical, spiritual, but I do know this God is undoing it. Every tear you've cried, every loss you've endured, every scar you bear, it is all subject to the power of our God. Lift your hands right now and declare the damage is undone, the best is yet to come. Amen. Let's be honest, life has a way of leaving its mark on us. Some of you walked in here today carrying wounds so deep that even the smile you wear feels like a mask. Life can hit hard. It can shatter dreams, strain relationships, and leave you questioning whether you'll ever feel whole again. Maybe it was the betrayal of someone you trusted. Maybe it was the loss of a loved one. Maybe it was a mistake you made that you can't seem to forgive yourself for. Or maybe it's a silent battle, the kind no one else sees, anxiety, depression, doubt, or fear. We live in a broken world, and that brokenness doesn't spare anyone. There are those among us who have been damaged by rejection, wounded by words, or scarred by the actions of others. You might feel like a part of your heart, your spirit, or your hope has been chipped away. And if you're honest, you've started to wonder if you'll ever be the same again. But hear me, God sees you. He sees the hidden pain, the tears cried in silence, the prayers whispered in desperation. He knows the weight you carry, the weight you've been trying to bear on your own. You might think no one notices, but the God who created you does. He sees every bruise life has left on your soul. You're not alone in this. Sometimes we feel isolated in our pain, like we're the only ones going through it. But let me remind you that even in your brokenness, you're surrounded by people who are carrying their own pieces. The beauty of this moment is that God isn't intimidated by the mess. He's not standing at a distance waiting for you to fix yourself. No, he's stepping right into the middle of it, ready to do what only he can do, undo the damage, piece by piece, until you're whole again. So if you feel broken, if you feel like you've been crushed under the weight of life's challenges, take heart. This is not the end of your story. The very places where you feel the most broken are the places where God is about to show himself strong. The cracks in your life are where his light will shine the brightest. God is here to take every shattered piece and weave it into something beautiful. The damage isn't permanent, and your brokenness isn't the final chapter. It's the starting point for God's restoration. Let me tell you something about the power of restoration. God doesn't just patch things up. He doesn't simply smooth over the cracks or apply a temporary fix. When God restores, he makes things new. He takes what was broken, what was lost, what was torn apart, and brings it back in a way that only he can. And when he's done, it's not just the same as it was before. It's better, stronger, more beautiful than you could ever imagine. Think about it. The God who spoke the universe into existence, the God who breathed life into dry dust, is the same God who looks at the rubble of your life and says, I can work with this. He doesn't shy away from your mess. He doesn't avoid the broken pieces. Instead, he gathers them carefully and lovingly and begins the work of rebuilding. You might look at your life and see ruins, but God sees potential. Where you see devastation, God sees the foundation of something extraordinary. The word tells us that he gives beauty for ashes, not beauty alongside ashes, not beauty that hides the ashes. He takes the ashes, the remnants of what once was, and transforms them. That's the kind of God we serve. He is the God who restores. Maybe you've lost something along the way, your joy, your peace, your purpose. Maybe life has robbed you of hope. But I came to remind you that God is still in the restoration business. He is the God who restores what the locusts have eaten. He is the God who turns mourning into dancing. He is the God who redeems the time, who makes up for what was lost, and who brings you into a season of abundance that overshadows the lack you've experienced. And don't miss this: when God restores, he doesn't stop at what you've lost. He goes beyond. He gives you more than you thought possible. Look at Job. He lost everything: his family, his wealth, his health. But when God restored him, he didn't just give Job what he had before. No, he gave him double. God is not limited by your past or your present circumstances. His restoration is limitless. But here's the key: restoration begins when you surrender the pieces to him. You can't hold on to the brokenness and expect him to work. You've got to lay it down, your hurt, your disappointment, your regrets, and trust that he knows exactly what to do. It may not happen all at once. It may not look the way you imagine. But when God restores, he does it in a way that leaves no doubt that it was his hand at work. So don't give up. Don't think for a moment that your story is over. God is still writing it, and what he restores will be greater than what you've lost. Your best days are not behind you, they are ahead of you. Trust him, because his power to restore is beyond anything you can comprehend. Pain is something we try to avoid, something we wish we could escape. When it comes, it feels like an intruder, unwelcome, uninvited, and unbearable. But what if I told you that pain, as difficult and as unwanted as it is, often carries a purpose? What if I told you that the very thing you thought was sent to break you is what God is using to build you? It's hard to see the purpose in the moment. When you're walking through the fire, all you can feel is the heat. When you're in the valley, all you can see are the shadows, but God's perspective is higher than ours. He sees the end from the beginning, and he doesn't waste anything, not even your pain. And think about it. A seed has to be buried in the dark before it can grow. Gold has to be refined in fire to shine. A diamond is formed under pressure. And just like that, God uses the pain, the trials, the struggles to shape you, to strengthen you, to prepare you for something greater. The pain is not pointless, it's a process. It's the training ground for your destiny. Maybe you've asked, why me, Lord? Why do I have to go through this? Let me tell you, God doesn't cause all pain, but he will use it. He will use it to develop your character, to increase your faith, to draw you closer to him. He will take what was meant to destroy you and turn it into the very thing that promotes you. The Bible says all things work together for good to those who love God and are called according to his purpose. Not some things, not just the good things, all things, including the painful things. Sometimes pain reveals what we couldn't see otherwise. It shows us who we are. It shows us who God is. It teaches us to rely on him in ways we never had to before. You don't know God as a healer until you've been sick. You don't know him as a provider until you've been in need. You don't know him as a deliverer until you face something you couldn't get through on your own. And let me remind you, the pain is temporary, but the purpose is eternal. What you're going through right now won't last forever, but the strength, the wisdom, the faith that God is producing in you will. He's using the pain to prepare you for what's next, for the assignment he's placed on your life. So don't despise the process. Don't despise the season you're in. Trust that God is working, even when it doesn't make sense. Trust that he is weaving every tear, every heartbreak, every moment of confusion into a tapestry of purpose. You may not see it now, but one day you'll look back and say, it was good for me that I was afflicted because it brought me closer to God, and it prepared me for the blessing he had waiting for me. The pain is not the end of your story. It's a chapter, and it's leading you to something greater. Hold on, because the purpose in the pain will be revealed, and you'll see that God's plan for your life has been worth every tear you've cried. Faith in the process is one of the hardest things to hold on to, because the process rarely looks like the promise. When God speaks a word over your life, when he gives you a vision or a dream, it's exciting. It's exhilarating, but then comes the process, the in-between. It's the space where things don't make sense, where it feels like nothing is happening, or worse, like everything is falling apart. And it's in that space where faith is tested. We are so quick to want the finished product, but God is not just interested in the destination. He's invested in the journey. The process is where he shapes you, where he molds you, where he teaches you to trust him in ways you never have before. It's where he stretches your faith, grows your patience, and prepares you for what's to come. Because here's the truth, if God gave you the promise without taking you through the process, you wouldn't be ready for it. Think about Joseph. God gave him a dream of greatness, a vision of ruling, but the process didn't look anything like the promise. He was betrayed by his brothers, thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, and unjustly imprisoned. If you looked at his life in the middle of the process, you might have thought God had forgotten him. But God was working all along, even in the silence, even in the struggle. What Joseph didn't know in the pit or the prison was that every step was bringing him closer to the palace. The process can feel slow, even painful, but don't mistake delay for denial. God is not a man that he should lie. If he said it, he will do it. The process is not a detour, it's a deliberate path. It's in the waiting that he refines you. It's in the trials that he strengthens you. And it's in the stillness that he draws you closer to him. But here's the challenge: you have to trust him, even when you can't trace him. You have to believe that he's working when you can't see it, that he's moving even when you feel stuck. Faith says, I trust the God of the promise, even when I don't understand the process. Think about a seed planted in the ground. You don't see it growing at first. It's hidden, buried, seemingly forgotten. But beneath the surface, roots are forming, strength is building, and in time, the seed will break through the soil. Your life is no different. What feels like burial is really planting. What feels like silence is preparation. And when the time is right, you will see the fruit of what God has been doing all along. Don't despise the waiting. Don't give up in the middle. Stay faithful. Keep praying. Keep praising. Keep believing. The process may not be easy, but the God who began the good work in you is faithful to complete it. He didn't bring you this far to leave you. What he promised will come to pass. And when it does, you'll see that every step of the process was worth it. God is not just preparing the promise for you, he's preparing you for the promise. Hold on, his timing is perfect and his plan is flawless. Ruin is a place we never expect to find ourselves. It's the aftermath of the storm, the wreckage of what once was. It's the broken pieces of a life, a relationship, a dream that seemed impossible to put back together. But what you call ruin, God calls the starting point. Where you see devastation, God sees the foundation for a miraculous comeback. Redemption is not just about restoration, it's about transformation. God doesn't just repair the damage. He takes what was destroyed, what was cast aside, and he breathes new life into it. He doesn't merely rebuild what was lost. He creates something better, stronger, and more beautiful. That's the power of God's redemptive work. Consider the story of Ruth. She had lost everything: her husband, her home, her security. By all appearances, her life was in ruins. But God had a plan. Ruth's journey led her to Boaz, and what began as a story of loss turned into a story of legacy. From her lineage came King David and ultimately Jesus Christ. What seemed like ruin was the pathway to redemption, not just for Ruth, but for generations to come. God's redemption is never limited to just what you see. When he redeems, he multiplies. He takes the ruins of your life and uses them to bless others. He takes the ashes of your pain and exchanges them for beauty that has a ripple effect. What you thought was the end becomes the foundation of a testimony that changes lives. Redemption doesn't happen overnight. It's a process. You may be standing in the middle of the ruins right now, wondering how anything good could come from this. But let me remind you, God is not limited by what you've lost. He's not intimidated by the mess. The same God who created the world out of chaos can create something glorious out of your situation. Don't let the ruins fool you. They are not a sign of defeat. They are a sign that God is about to do something extraordinary. He uses the places of deepest brokenness to show the depths of his love and power. What the enemy meant for evil, God will turn for good. What was meant to destroy you will be the very thing that elevates you. And when God redeems, he doesn't just meet your expectations, he exceeds them. Think about Job. After he lost everything, God didn't just give him back what he had, he gave him double. That's the kind of God we serve. He doesn't just redeem, he redeems with overflow. So if you feel like your life is in ruins, lift up your head. This is not the end. God is working even now to bring about redemption. The story isn't over, and when the next chapter unfolds, it will be a testimony of his faithfulness, his power, and his love. You are moving from ruin to redemption, and what's coming is greater than anything you've left behind. Your testimony is one of the most powerful weapons you have. It's the evidence of God's work in your life, proof that he is still moving, still healing, still delivering. Your testimony isn't just for you. It's a declaration of God's power to others, a beacon of hope for those who are still in the storm. What you've been through, what you've overcome, what God has brought you out of that is your victory. We often shy away from our stories. We try to hide the parts of our lives that are messy, painful, or embarrassing. But it's those very parts that God wants to use. He takes what was meant to harm you and transforms it into something that will help someone else. The word says they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony. Your testimony is not just words, it's a weapon that defeats the lies of the enemy. When you share what God has done in your life, you remind the world that he is still in the business of miracles. You remind someone who is struggling that they are not alone. Your testimony is a living, breathing example of God's grace, mercy, and power. It's the proof that no matter how far you've fallen, no matter how broken you've been, God is able to redeem, restore, and renew. Think about the woman at the well. Her life was marked by shame and rejection, but one encounter with Jesus changed everything. She didn't keep her story to herself. She ran back to her village and told everyone what had happened. Because of her testimony, an entire community came to know Jesus. Her past didn't disqualify her, it positioned her. The same is true for you. Your testimony carries a unique power because it's your story. No one can tell it the way you can. What you've been through, what you've survived, and how God brought you through it matters. Someone is waiting to hear your story because it will be the spark that ignites their faith. Victory doesn't mean you didn't face battles, it means you came through them. It means you stood when you could have fallen, that you held on when everything told you to let go. And every time you tell your story, you're reminding yourself and others that the same God who brought you through will do it again. Don't be ashamed of where you've been. Your scars are a testament to God's healing. Your struggles are a testament to His strength. Your victory is a testament to His faithfulness. When you speak your testimony, you are declaring that God is greater than anything you've faced, that His power is stronger than your pain, and that His love has the final say. So open your mouth and share your story. Let the world know what God has done for you. Your victory is not just for you, it's a key that unlocks freedom for someone else. And as you testify, the enemy is defeated, faith is strengthened, and God gets the glory. Your testimony is a living proof of victory, and it's a reminder to everyone that if God did it for you, He can do it for them too. As we